what is your response to the executive at a company that says, we've tried TQM, total quality management, and continuous improvement in the past. We did it in the 80s. We did it in the 90s. I'm sure this sounds familiar. What's different with Lean Six Sigma? What's your response to executives that push back on a change initiative like Lean Six Sigma?
Okay, and I think that's important because we have come across companies who will call us and they'll say, you know what, we tried Lean Six Sigma, it wasn't successful, we don't know what went wrong, and so on. We've also had companies, I've been in doing a leadership session, and I'll have a VP stand up and make the comment that, you know what, we're going to embark upon Lean Six Sigma, we're going to do it very cautiously. Lean Six Sigma is no different than the TQM of olden days. And leadership shakes their heads and they say, okay, this isn't going to require too much of us then, and they're content and so on. Lean Six Sigma and TQM are not the same. Okay, they are not the same. I went through the TQM days. I had my process improvement guide, which we call the PIG, and we had our book of tools. And if I wanted to see a control chart, if I wanted to see a run chart, if I wanted to see a regression line or whatever, I could look in my PIG and so on. However, I didn't, and this was back in the, I'm going to say the 80s and so on, I didn't see any part of industries or whatever really take hold and move out with TQM and make it really turn around their business if they were in trouble or enhance their output and so on, because it was somewhat disjointed. So here's what I'm going to say. These are the differences I found. First of all, Lean Six Sigma, there's financial accountability. There's no sense in embarking upon, and what I tell people when I am in front of a management or a leadership team or something, there's no sense in embarking upon Lean Six Sigma unless you're going to have a level of financial accountability in which you now look to see the success of your Lean Six Sigma. Okay? Do you have Lean Six Sigma as opposed to TQM also has an infrastructure? Now, some people are opposed to that infrastructure. I'm going to say what the infrastructure does is it gives you the capability to support whatever level of involvement you want with Lean Six Sigma. It also gives you a skill set because within that infrastructure, you have capability identified. In other words, I want somebody to have a skill set of a green belt. And with that skill set requires such and such. These statistical tools, SPC, and a level of a knowledge of regression, and so on. There's a skill set required of black belts, and it's basically standardized in terms of they need to know how to do design of experiments. They need to know how to assist green belts and so on. But with that structure now comes the ability to align the organization so that you can take on projects, so that you can solve problems systematically. The methodology is systematic. Now, once again, it depends on how the company deploys it, but there's a systematic approach to doing Lean Six Sigma. The methodology we haven't mentioned it yet, and I don't want to get into it to level of detail, but DMAIC, in other words, define the problem, define what the customer wants, define where we want to go. Measure, how good are you doing? What is the capability of your current process? Analyze, what is the root cause for a gap existing between what my customer wants and what am I capable of providing? Improvement, how am I going to improve that process statistically so that what I do actually makes a difference and it's a different process, or I should say it's an improved process, and it has solved the root cause, not the symptoms. And then lastly, put that process, once you have enhanced it, once you have used the tools and techniques to improve it, put it in control so that you sustain the gain. So that's systematic. The other thing Lean Six Sigma does, as opposed to TQM was a set of tools and that kind of stuff, but it didn't have the latest techniques. Today, Lean Six Sigma goes well beyond. If somebody were to say Lean Six Sigma is what it was 6 years ago, I would say they're totally wrong. The latest techniques today allow you to optimize your process, validate that it's been optimized, test to make sure it's going to satisfy the customer, and you use the advanced techniques, you use the computer power which we have today, which we didn't have back in the TQM days. Computers are unbelievable. I can do things like Monte Carlo simulation, in which I can do 1 million runs in the matter of 30 seconds and test out something to see if it's going to satisfy the spec limits that I want. Also, the software today is unbelievable compared to what we had in the TQM days, if we did have software back then. So those are major differences between Lean Six Sigma and TQM. And the other thing I'm going to say is Lean Six Sigma, if you really want, and I've said it several times, I'm beating a dead horse maybe, but if you really want to see Lean Six Sigma take hold and get the results that you're capable of getting, leadership and management have to be engaged and involved. And back in the TQM days, I didn't see that level of support from managers and leaders. I got my pig guide and I walked around looking for things to improve with whatever tools I wanted to use, and that was it.
Yeah. All right, fantastic.
That's the difference in a nutshell.